Hey badass, welcome to the first video from the series on JavaScript tutorials for beginners. In this video, we will learn what is JavaScript and how does it work. We'll also see how we can write our own first JavaScript code. Now let's dive right in. The first question you're probably wondering is, what is JavaScript? Without all the fluff, this is it. JavaScript is a programming language that allows you to implement complex features on web pages. It's a high-level, dynamic, untyped and interpreted programming language. Now, it's often used alongside HTML and CSS, as these three are one of the most essential technologies of World Wide Web content production. Now, normally when you have browsers, they have limited functionality. So literally all you see are like text, images, tables, frames. But JavaScript's the hidden ingredient. What it does is it allows interactivity. Now don't worry, I know these words seem a little bit big right now, but in the next slide I'll explain what I mean. Now the only thing you need to know right now is that JavaScript is so easy to learn and you're in the right place. So what's the meaning of interactivity? For example, here's a picture of a Skyscanner website. And Skyscanner is a site that allows you to find holiday deals by comparing the prices of different airlines and hotels. So for the meantime, let me go onto the site so we can both browse it together. So this is the Skyscanner site, which is wonderful because it just reminds me of me wanting to go on holiday. Now, normally when you just look at it, all that's going on is HTML and CSS. That's why you can see the pictures, you can see the fonts, the colors. But then what JavaScript does is it brings it to life. So rather than just looking at these pictures and words and fonts and colors, I can actually use the site to find a country that I want to travel to. So currently I'm in London, but let's say I want to fly to Punta Cana or Jamaica, or whichever country I decide. I would click on the To tab and I would type in the country I want. And if I just type in the first three letters, it gives me options. Do I want to go to this country or this country or this country? And then I could just click whichever country I want. And then if I click go, it takes me to another page, which is just HTML and CSS. But then JavaScript once again helps because it gives me the option of clicking. Do I want to travel from Birmingham? Do I want to travel from London? Do I want to go at what date? So can you see what I'm talking about? It brings that interactivity to life. So I'm using the computer and the computer's responding to everything that I'm saying that I want. Yeah, it's a wonderful site. God, I can't wait for COVID to be over. So now we can see that JavaScript improves the appearance of web pages, especially if you're using graphics or visual feedback. It makes site navigation easier and more interactive. And it can perform calculations, taking dates, like the previous example we've just seen on when we can fly and where we can fly from. And the validation of input, that basically means, an example of that would be if you have a social media account, how you would sign into that social media account, or if you have an email account, it's just enabling your user or enabling you to log into a particular website. So how does it work? JavaScript can be embedded into your HTML page. You can directly embed HTML into any code you write. Otherwise, you can write a JavaScript file and add it to your HTML page. JavaScript is executed on the client side, so it's really fast. No connection is needed from the server to make it work. It uses simple programming statements combined with HTML tags. Let me give you an example. So there are two types of languages. The first is a compiled language. The other is an interpreted language. Compiled languages are languages that you have to compile first, then create a binary of it. So when you execute this binary, it will work. An example of a compiled language is Java. However, you have JavaScript. JavaScript is an interpreted language, so we don't need to compile it. That's why it's much easier. It can be used directly on the browser, and it can be interpreted directly by the browser. So if you said to a browser, interpret set, and if it's valid, it will show to the user. Before we keep going, I just want to make sure that you understand that Java and JavaScript are completely different languages. So Java is a full programming language that is more challenging to learn. It is a compiled language that is independent of the web. So you can use Java with like web technologies, but it's not necessary to use web technologies with Java. It can operate on its own without any web technology. On the other hand, JavaScript is an interpreted language with its own syntax. To code JavaScript, we need a text editor and a browser. Any browser or text editor of your choice is fine. So for instance, we can use Notepad, WordPad, Note++, Eclipse, NetBeans, Visual Studio Code, and all of these sound a bit strange, but don't worry. You can use many integrated development environments, IDEs, which you can use to code JavaScript. All of this will be explained in the videos that are coming up. The easiest way to learn JavaScript will be to fully understand HTML. JavaScript is used mostly with HTML, so you need to have some kind of vague idea about HTML. The secret ingredient is patience as well. No one really talks about how patient you have to be, but you're going to find parts of you that you didn't know you had. Okay, here's a basic example of a JavaScript code. Here is HTML. You can add JavaScript code inside this HTML page. Let's see how we can do it together. I have this sample HTML code and I want to add this JavaScript code inside it. I can add a script tag here and just add this text/JavaScript here so it knows what type of language it's working with and knows that it's JavaScript. If I want to print something on the web page, I can use document.write. I can write, "Hello you badass." Don't forget the semicolon. So once you've saved it, you can right click and then press live server to execute this code. So now you've done that, you should see on a new web page, it should show you, "Hello you badass." But then I'm not content with that. We want it to be bold. We want it to be a title. So if you add HTML tags inside the document, you add a H1, which just means header 1 at the beginning, and H1 at the end, it makes it like a proper heading. And this is just one of the simple examples of JavaScript. So we're going to learn much more about how we can use JavaScript and how we can create interactive web pages using JavaScript in upcoming videos in this series and playlist. So stay tuned, please like and subscribe, and just stay eager. That's what's going to really help you to just reach your goals and just be a badass at this and any other thing that you want to do. Just stay eager, stay hungry, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.